Welcome to Chiang Mai Chatter. As mentioned in a recent episode, this podcast is taking a slightly different route and angle, as well as continuing to record on the fly episodes. We are going to be interviewing people here in Chiang Mai, and I'm now sitting in a sort of made up recording space in basically a hotel in the Taipei Gate area. And it seemed fitting to record this here because the person I interviewed has a connection with this place, this area, but also David, who you're going to hear from, has many years experience in Thailand and Chiang Mai, experience in restaurants and sort of eateries, also experience as a monk, a Buddhist monk in Thailand, and experience in the arts. So we've cut this episode into two, keeping in line with our short sort of episodes. What you are going to hear is part one of the interview with David Gordon. So let's hear that interview with David. So in this episode, we are not far away from Taipei Gate, the famous tourist area in Chiang Mai, but obviously also somewhere that has a lot of history, hence its gate and the moat. But we're in a place which my guest hopefully will tell us a little bit about. But it's a hotel, an eatery in a lovely little quiet place just off Taipei Gate area, and we're going to speak to a guy called David, and he will tell us a bit about the place, but also how he ended up here. So, first of all, nice to meet you, David.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, and so first of all, can you just tell us the name of this place, and also what is your involvement in the actual place itself? And I'm just looking also, as I say that, across at the sign, because there's two different names. There's the actual guest house, but I think the actual restaurant has got a different name. Is that correct?
Yes, it's separate from the guest house. Two completely separate businesses. The coffee shop is called Julahu Coffee.
Yes, and the other place is Kamala
Boutique Guest House.
Yes, so the guest house itself is Kamala Guest House. So let's start with the simple questions then. So how did you end up being involved with this place?
It was my wife's idea. Kamala, whose nickname is Knock, and I have been friendly about 18-20 years. She was a customer in our first restaurant 20 years ago, and we stayed friendly. And she owns the guest house, and she asked Prom if she wanted to run the restaurant. But we're in the process of changing the whole menu. We're making it 90% Thai with about 10% Western dishes. And we have wonderful smoothies. We have a full range of smoothies, which is just about the cheapest and the best in Chiang Mai.
Oh, wow. So when you say the cheapest and the best, just because I'm living in a less touristy area of Santitan, but what would you say? Let's have a look at the prices. Let's have a look. We're just going to do a little walk and talk here. So what we got?
80 baht for 3 fruits.
Oh, that's pretty good. So especially seeing as we're in Taipei Gate area, you've got Peachy Good, Strawberry Delight, Exotic Fusion. Wow, you've got orange, mango, dragon fruit together. So that's really good, actually. And of course, it's not just some of these places you would pay maybe that price and you wouldn't get a seat. But here you've got this great outdoor area.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing you can sit inside. There's lots of places inside. But yeah, because at the moment, from what I know, because I'm tucking into a sandwich at the moment, a tuna sandwich. I'm mostly vegetarian, but not always. And they do lots of Western kind of breakfasts and things. But it's good that you're going down this Thai route. But you came from a background in eating and a background in restaurants. But that wasn't Western. It was Western, but it wasn't English or American or even Thai. Can you tell us a bit about that background?
Well, the truth is I have no background in restaurants whatsoever. I started in restaurants 8 years ago. That was my first restaurant. I originally came to Thailand interested in Eastern philosophy, and I spent time as a monk which is very unusual to meet a Western man who's been a monk. But I loved it. I was a monk in a forest, and every temple is dependent on the rules made by the abbot. Some temples you meditate, other temples you don't meditate. All depends on what the abbot wants the other monks to do. And the temple where I was in the forest, the abbot insisted all monks had to meditate 10 to 12 hours a day. So, but I loved it because I've been meditating for many, many years, and it was the most wonderful experience living in a forest with the other monks, living a Spartan life, not allowed to eat food after midday, having to sleep on a rough bed, being allowed to kill mosquitoes when they eat you alive at night. It was the most wonderful experience, and you get used to anything very quickly, and I loved it. I loved every minute of it.
Okay, well that's I forgot. We spoke about that when we first met, your monkhood times, and I've got an experience. I know one or two Korean monks from England, but also Korea, and stayed in temples. And the reason I'm saying this is, and also I've spent some time in an Ayurveda place in India. And the reason I'm saying this is, as you mentioned, there's certain things you can't do, like kill other animals. But is there certain things from the cooking and the veg side, maybe, because it's meant to be natural, that you maybe apply to your history in restaurants or your daily living? I mean, first of all, mosquitoes. Do you still not kill them?
I kill them. I kill them with vengeance.
It's difficult not to kill them because they just bite you otherwise.
Monks are allowed to eat meat or fish. They can't kill it themselves. So many monks will eat meat and fish. They just won't kill it themselves. So if they're served it, if they're given it on their bindabat, which is the name for when they go on their morning walks to collect food with their bowls, if they're given fish or meat, they eat it.
And what about, this is a touchy subject, but I know some countries, some stories, even where we are right now, there might be a monk who follow all this, but they might have a drink every now and again. So did that, obviously that applied where you were, but did that become an issue, or were you so far away from it didn't become an issue?
It was never an issue because I knew monks weren't allowed to drink. I never ever thought about alcohol. It just never became an issue. I think if you are found drinking alcohol, you'll be thrown out immediately. You'll be disrobed immediately.
So with again, back to that other question, with your restaurants, what was your main cuisine? Was it French cuisine that you were kind of more known for, as opposed to Thai anyway, or was it something else?
It was French cuisine. We had no idea about how to run a restaurant or how to open a restaurant. By pure coincidence, on the day before we were due to open, a chef came along who'd worked in the Mandarin Oriental in the French restaurant.
Wow.
And he became our executive chef. And within 3 months, we gifted him 10% of the profits. So at one point, he was the highest paid chef in Chiang Mai. So he was very happy. He stayed with us from day one till COVID took us down.
Yeah, so what was that? That must have been quite emotionally, well, been quite tragic, obviously, closing down during COVID. I mean, you couldn't have seen it coming. Did you try to find a way to stay open, or was it, did you try anything like half opening or delivery only, or what was it like in those times? It seems like a world away now, but
we were very badly planned because we had no idea what was going on with COVID. We had no idea how long it was going to last. And so we weren't prepared for anything at all. And also our restaurant, it was voted the #1 restaurant in Chiang Mai 5 years in a row, from 2015 to 2019 inclusive. And people wanted a glass of wine with food. And with Instagram around and Facebook, if the police had seen us guests sitting at a table with a glass of wine on Facebook or Instagram, they would have closed us immediately or fined us. Other kind of less profile restaurants could get away with it, and they did regularly. And it was easy to buy alcohol during they prohibited all alcohol for about 6 or 9 months. You couldn't buy alcohol anywhere. But everyone knew who wanted to drink where you could get alcohol 24 hours a day. It wasn't difficult, but we were too high profile. So not being able to serve any alcohol, and also we were expensive. The average person spend was 1,300 baht per person every day. Some people drank wine, some people drank beer, but we averaged it out. You could always work out the takings and then divide that. It was always 1,300 baht per person, and we just became too expensive for locals in Chiang Mai and tourists who had no idea when COVID was going to end. They didn't want to use their savings, and I understand that. So we limped on for a short while and then had to close.
Okay, yeah. So you've just mentioned locals. Was it high so Thais, or was it just expats, or was it a mix of tourists, expats and Thais?
It was a complete mixture, tourists, expats and Thais. We had some people who would fly from Bangkok just to eat in the restaurant and then fly back the next day. But we were very much on the tourist map. People came to Chiang Mai, they'd go to Doi Suthep, which is the most important temple in the north of Thailand. They go to Tiger Kingdom to play with the tigers. They go to an elephant camp, and they come to David's Kitchen. We were very much on the tourist map. It was something you did if you came to Chiang Mai.
I wish I had experienced it, because David's Kitchen, which is the name, yeah? That's not what you just gave it. Because I came to Chiang Mai probably 15 years ago. I did exactly what you just said, the Tiger Kingdom, the elephants, the Doi Suthep perhaps. I don't know which restaurants we went to, but it was 15 years ago. But I wish I'd experienced it, because I've then come back to Chiang Mai last year, and obviously that was after COVID, so your restaurant would have been gone.
Yeah.
So that's a shame. Is there a place now, or even a place then, that you still would go to? Like, is there one that kind of is the second best one, or was the second best one, and now is still open and you still highly rate?
I don't really rate any of the 5-star restaurants in Chiang Mai, but my favorite restaurant in Chiang Mai is called Ikigai. I think, which is owned by James Noble. I think he's the best chef in Chiang Mai. He's so creative. He was Mick Jagger's personal private chef on the island of Mustique, and he's such a creative chef. He happily changed the menu every day, but you can't do that because you lose money and wastage if you just buy food for a daily menu. But he changes the menu all the time, as often as he can, and he's so creative. He's wonderful.
Yeah, I remember you saying something about that Mick Jagger, the Mick Jagger connection before.